golf was something that, one, you really were passionate about?
It just became golf. I became very obsessed with it very, very quickly. Women's professional sports, it was either tennis or golf. I'm from a small country town. There's a lot of great athletes that come from small country towns. I won the Australian Junior, which was a national event. Life without social media is actually quite a lot easier than life with social media. The hard days, when you sort of kind of feel like, your leg's about to fall off and your arms are moving in a different direction, you're still going to try and hit a golf ball.
Yeah.
It just feels hard. I think golf is one of those, it's a mirror to life. Like, it challenges you in every facet, from the physical to the mental, definitely to the emotional. It just covers off probably too much, but I really love it.
Yes, she does.
So I'm 2 days at...
Welcome, Superhuman. Today I have a special guest who is a retired pro golfer. She is a 3-time LPGA Tour winner. She is an advanced PGA accredited coach, and she has a Bachelor of Psychology as well. So she has a lot of experience in working at an elite level and performing at a very high level. She has more awards than I could probably reel off, but she was a pro in the ladies circuit for 18 years, and she's now focused on coaching and bringing other people's experience to their highest level. So I'm so excited to bring you Tamie Durdin. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Ria. It's great to see you.
Well, this has been a long time coming, I think, this conversation. We have some great offline chats, so I thought, why not bring one to the forefront?
Put it online.
And put it online. But you've had a very, very successful career in golf.
Mm-hmm.
And so not everybody gets to experience the professional highlight reel that you have in your life. But I want to bring it back to when Tamie was little. And when did you realize that golf was something that, one, you really were passionate about or wanted to get better at and perhaps even wanted to pursue? How did that whole process sort of come to light for you?
So, great question. So I'm from a small country town called Karoonda between Murraybridge and Loxton. And at the time when I was growing up there, and like a lot of small country towns, you're either into sport, or into sport. And if you're not, then, you've got to try and find something else to do. But I played every sport when I was a kid. So I'd played footy with the boys, cricket with the boys, and now I'm starting to show my age where there wasn't a lot of girls' sports at the time. So, I was playing a lot with the boys. And then golf just sort of kind of became one of those things. It was basketball, athletics, and netball. And we had small little 9-hole sand scrape course at Karoonda. And at the time of the year, it was more through the winter, that I'd needed something to do on a Sunday. So golf became it. And it's just one of those sports, I think, once it gets you in and you start to move in the right way and you start to feel the ball on the club face and it's going in the direction that you want it to go, it's a fun sport. And, I wasn't much of a runner, and it was either going to be tennis or golf. And I didn't have much of a backhand. So tennis sort of kind of got thrown out of the way, and then it just became golf. I became very obsessed with it very, very quickly.
Okay.
And it just has that nature about it, I think. But I wanted to be a professional athlete of some sort. And golf at the time, in terms of women's professional sports, it was either tennis or golf. To be able to make a career out of it and, earn some money and all those sorts of things, and I would have loved to have fast forwarded the clock to now where, the girls, they get to play AFL and there's cricket, and golf's obviously really, really thriving. You've still got your tennis. But the amount of sports that are available now in comparison to what was available when I was coming through was just those two. So, yeah, I guess that's a little bit of my story. I'm from a small country town. There's a lot of great athletes that come from small country towns.
Yeah.
And we had a couple, out of Karoonda. Tyson Edwards played at the Crows, and Leanne actually played at, I think it was Contacts, one of the high-level netball teams here. So, yeah, sort of kind of went a little bit more international though.
Well, it was all meant to be what it was meant to be,
Yes.
right? Okay, so you're spending your Sundays golfing. You've got the bug now. I really like this.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you progress then to the next step? Did someone scout you? Did they see you somewhere that they thought, okay, this girl, she's got talent?
So it was really interesting. My parents had the pub at Karoonda at the time, and Mum unfortunately got breast cancer. So it was a case of we had to move to town, and she had a treatment and all that sort of stuff. And I was still really enamoured with golf. And at the time, they were doing junior clinics at Royal Adelaide, and said, "Well, let's go and do some junior clinics." And I had my little cut off 5-iron and my little cut down 5-wood, and started hitting shots. And at the time, it was Women's Golf South Australia, and I had a lot of the older ladies that were sort of the gatekeepers to golf. It was cut in half. So there was a women's side of things and there was a men's side of things, and now it's all combined into one thing. But at the time, it was a lot of people that had played golf to a high level and whatnot. And I was hitting shots at Royal, and I sort of kind of seemed to be going not too bad. And, it was sort of kind of a little bit of, a love affair with them and me. And, it was, they helped me nurture my ability. And, and it was sort of kind of late in the piece. I guess I'd really started playing probably when I was 13, in that age group. And then I knew by the time I was 15 that that's what I wanted to do. The bug bit me really, really hard. And then, from there it was a case of opportunities just kept coming, and, it's just the development phase, I think, is the learning phase.
So do you think that you were getting noticed because you were entering different competitions and sort of getting yourself out there? Because I'm thinking like back then, I know you speak about how it's the kind of the gatekeepers, and I feel like back then it was more about who you know and who knows you. You sort of have to get yourself out there in an organic way because we didn't have social media and things like that to project ourselves out to the internet. So you really had to put yourself out there in some other way.
It was more of a case of, so I would do a lot of the clinics.
Okay.
They would run quite a few clinics. And then, you would start to play in your Saturday comps at your local club and all that. And then your handicap would start to go south. You would just start to naturally get better. And then there were some, national competitions. I went, when I was 17, I won the Australian Junior, which was a national event down in Tasmania, and I won that. And it was just a case of the stepping stones that you go through. And you're right, there wasn't social media, which probably back then was, life without social media is actually quite a lot easier than life with social media.
Yes.
But it's just, you had this camaraderie with, the other girls that you were playing with, and you'd play with the boys, and it was just a lot different. And I hate to say back then, but it really, really was. And you're playing with your peers and you just get better.
That's awesome. So you managed to pick up a scholarship in 98. So to go to the US.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us about that. How did that kind of come about?
So pre that, I went to the Australian Institute of Sport. So straight out of high school, I couldn't wait to get out of school. I wasn't. And for the fact is that I actually have a bachelor's degree in psychology is somewhat of a miracle. But I'd always said to my parents, you'll never ever see me in a university institution. And yeah, I did. But that's for another, I'll tell that story. But as soon as I'd finished high school, I'd applied to the Australian Institute of Sport in Melbourne under a coach by the name of Ross Herbert, who was brilliant. And I got in there for 2 years. So it was a scholarship program there. And I'd finished that, and I was flailing a little bit. There wasn't really much going on. I think I was, say, 20, going on 21. And I needed that next step of, okay, where does my golf career go to from here? Is it going to go somewhere or isn't it? And it was just really, it's just timing. I think there's so much in life that is timing. This opportunity came through. It was with Pepperdine University. I hadn't been in school for, 3 years or whatever it was. And then I had to go and sit SAT exams and all this sort of stuff. And I'm thinking, this is not what I signed up for, but to get into that situation or that school or any school for that matter going over there, I just SAT exams. I sat them twice. I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm a genius because I'm certainly not. I got enough just to get in, and I was sort of kind of on my way from that standpoint. And then 98, I got in there and I spent 2 years at Pepperdine, which was amazing. Their school system over there, the college system over there is great. And it's a case of if you get the opportunity to go, as a young golfer these days, in my opinion, it's the place to be. America's big. There's a lot of opportunity. And if you're any good, then great things can happen, right?
Yep.
But they also give you opportunity if you're, say, not to say that you're not to the level, but you just have great opportunity to get there. So I really enjoyed it. I spent 2 years there. I had to rock up to class and be the studious student.
Yep.
But it was just, I think it's, right place, right time. I was really thriving in my golf. I was really enjoying it. I remember when I first got there, it was a challenge because it was such a different
environment.
Right? You're away from your family and but I really, really enjoyed it. I'd go down to Alumni Park, which is what they called it, and it's in Malibu in California.
Oh, amazing.
It's on Pacific Coast Highway, so you've got the Pacific Ocean right there, and it was just beautiful, really, and just a really great opportunity.
What an experience! I think you say you thrive because of the environment as well, but I think when you take that big step to leave your family, leave your country, and you're on your own, and it's like, okay, I'm here to take this very seriously. I'm not here to, mess around,
faff about.
Yeah, it's like that. You really sounds like you made the most of it, and you were there to make the most of it whilst you were there.
It's interesting because there's a lot of golfers now, young golfers. They're turning pro at 16, 17, 18. I was 23 essentially when I turned pro, so it's almost a case of being a little bit late. But I think that just goes with generation and in terms of so the technology, the coaching, all of that stuff. As we move through generations, it always gets better. I was talking to a client the other day and I said, I wish I was 20, 30 years younger in terms of having access to what the kids have got now, which, and it's just luck. I think it's just the nature of the beast. You come along when you come along, you make the most of it when you get it.
Yep.
But yeah, fantastic opportunity. Was exposed to a lot of great things, which I think comes in, if you're any good, those things sort of kind of present themselves.
When you say great things, what are you referring to more so?
So it's a case of you get noticed on a grander stage. Like America is a big place and it's, it's a fantastic place for sport. The college system is so big. There's a lot of money in it. There's a lot of exposure, which is what you need. And there's, the NCAA competitions and then you have your USGA competitions and the like. So you're getting exposure all the time.
Yep.
And through that, if you're pretty decent, good things happen. But I think good things can happen in general anyway if you had the right mindset for it.
And work ethic.
Yes. Got to hit a lot of golf balls.
Well, yes, reps. You got to get the reps in.
Got to get the reps in.
So you were there for 2 years, and then is that when you made the leap to go to Japan from there?
No. So then I went to, I was probably a little bit impatient, and coach at the time, she said, it's your choice. You either go now or stay another year. And and she had us, I was on full ride. I was on a full scholarship. My parents weren't, the only things that they were really probably paying for or were paying for was spending money. And at the time, I remember the US dollar was like 49 cents or 50 cents in the dollar. So it wasn't, like it say is now or at its peak of when it was really, really good. And I was getting impatient. I was getting itchy feet, and I had a really good season. Through the season, I was the number one college golfer in the country, and I'd finished fourth in the NCAAs and all this sort of stuff. So I was starting to move in the right direction. I was starting to get, a little bit of notoriety and whatnot. And it was just a formality of go to Q school and sort of, see what happens.
Yep.
I finished second there, which was awesome. It's probably the most pressure-packed week that you'll ever face because at that time, you had to turn pro, so you couldn't stay as an amateur and do the qualifying school. So you're backing yourself. There's got to be that element of belief. You back yourself. I did, and I finished second. And I was sort of kind of set, right? So I thought, and then through that
So who makes it through? You said you came second.
I came second, so I think it was like top 20 or top 30
okay, cool.
of, and there were 2 stages, I think there was.
Sure.
And they're full fielded events. It's just huge and just pressure.
Mm. So what was that self-talk then? Because that's high stakes.
Well, it's whether or not you're going to work the next year, right, and have the opportunity. So it was a case of my mindset through that was I knew that I didn't have to do anything really dramatic. It was a case of, be reasonably even-keeled, reduce the big numbers on the scorecard. If you needed to take bogey at the time, you take it, because I'd looked at it, there was always going to be opportunity to make some birdies and stuff out there. And, some people handle pressure better than others. And I knew that if I could keep myself reasonably even-keeled, not too up, not too low, that there were going to be other girls that probably weren't going to be able to cope with it. And I'd sort of kind of convinced myself that was going to be the case, that I was going to go and be really calm, even though everything inside you is not calm, but you got to be calm and, hit the shot, commit to the shot, and sort of kind of see what happens. So from that standpoint, I felt like I had a pretty solid mindset. It was just hit the shot that's in front of you. Don't go for too much. If you need to lay it up, lay it up. If you're, it was playing smart. Hit it to the fat part of the green, hit it to the fat part of the fairways, all of those types of things. So you take the big numbers out. Yep. So then you don't have to try and catch up too much.
Love that. Just play smart, but you've also had the confidence and the smarts to get you through.
Well, the whole risk reward nature that I was sort of kind of, let's go for it type of thing. But in that situation where it is a bit higher stakes, you sort of kind of got to cool your jets a little bit and keep the ball in play, and,
Amazing. Okay. So you came second, and then where did you go next?
So there was a bit of a unfortunate event that was sort of kind of playing in the background, and that was with Ross, my coach.
Mm-hmm.
And so as soon as I'd finished, I'd gone and played the Futures Tour, which is the Epsom Tour now is what they call it. And it was like a secondary tour, and I'd played my second professional event and I won it. I'd shot 64, I think, in the last round, won by a couple of shots, and I'm thinking, this is just amazing, And then I'd had Q school that I'd gone to, but in the background, my coach had been diagnosed with bowel cancer.
Wow.
And so I was in preparation. I was down in Florida. I was preparing for Q school because that's where it was. And I remember my mum rang me and she's like, you need to call Ross. He's crook. And I'm like, he's probably got a cold or something. She goes, no, it's a bit more than a cold. And so I spoke to him and he's like, Tam, don't worry about it. Everything's under control. I'm getting, treatment. Everything's going to be great. I'm like, okay, well, you sort of kind of got to take them as their word.
Of course, yeah.
He's in Australia. I'm in the US. He's like, you do you, I'll do me. Get your tour card and we'll sort it out when you get home.
Yep.
Perfect. We were having, some conversations when I was over there. It was just, checking swing, feels and all that sort of stuff. So in my mind, everything is just wonderful. Everything's great. So I get home and I go and see him, and I hadn't seen him in quite a while. And he was about 6 foot, not a huge guy, but, he's a reasonably built type of guy. And I saw him and I was floored. He'd had the jaundice look in his eyes because it'd gone to his liver, and he was starting to lose some weight and everything. And I was just, you know, when you sort of kind of stand in front of someone you haven't seen them for a while?
Yeah.
And it was, wow. So he goes, it's a little bit worse than what I'd sort of kind of had said to you on the phone.
Yeah.
So he got diagnosed in September. He was dead. It was September of 99 and he was dead 1st of January 2000.
Oh, goodness.
So it wasn't very long. So it was upheaval. Coach was supposed to be there. You know, all of these things that I'd had sort of kind of preset in my mind in terms of what we're going to do to then, you know, prepare for that year. So that completely and utterly changed. I spent 2 years on the LPGA. I just found it really big is probably the best way to describe it. I felt with Ross that I'd gotten a lot of confidence from him. So it was a case that I had to, you're trying to fill the void. You're trying to find the same emotional connection, the same connections in the way that, you know, the language, the communication, all that sort of stuff. So that sort of kind of didn't go in the direction that I wanted it to go. So I fell off that tour and I was really in a spot of bother, really in terms of, okay, what's next here? What's my next sort of kind of direction? So I went back and did another year on the then Futures Tour. So I was really in, I got to make a decision here. And I wasn't keen to go back to uni. And I still wanted to play, but it was a case of I needed to find somewhere. I was flailing in America. And so I'd had this woman who had played in Japan and she got in touch with Mum. She goes, well, why doesn't Tamie look into Japan? Didn't even contemplate it. And so then the ball sort of kind of got rolling then. I had entered for the tour school again because I'd lost my tour card for the US LPGA and I'd entered Japan. And it was going to be a case of I had to make a choice which one I wanted to commit to because the Q schools were running basically at the same time. If I did it, I was, you know, finished Japan on the plane to the US and was like within days. So it just was not doable. So I thought, I'll take a punt here. I'll go to Japan. So I did. And so I won that Q school. I don't know what it is with me and Q schools. They seem to be, a tournament that I just had a completely different mindset. I probably should have taken a lot of the mindsets that I had at Q school into tournaments. But I'd shot 63 in the final round. And I played with a friend, Gina Scott, who's from New Zealand. She shot like 67 or something. And she got her tour card and it was just an exhausting week. It was, I think their Q school was four sections of it. So it was quite demanding. That was a 4-round event and it was at the back end of or start of December. It was really cold. And just the mindset on that was just a completely different, you know, you with the cold, you've got so many layers on, you just sort of kind of got to keep the thing in play. You don't speak the language, the food's a bit different. There was just so many different things going on. So it was a bit of a culture shock, but glad I did it. It was an amazing place.
I wonder what you think now, looking back, what would you identify that mindset difference between, you know, how you were with, like you said, what do you think? How would you identify that now, like looking back?
In terms of reflecting on that, I think I can still get into that mindset of I don't feel like I need to do a lot. I need to keep the ball in play, keep the ball out in front of me, as opposed to the risk reward. Let's stand here and deliver and try and hit the hero shot, the miracle shot. Whereas I think golf is a game where the calmer you are, the more clarity of thought that sort of kind of comes to you. It sort of kind of works hand in hand. And not getting too up, too down, being really, really even keeled. You know, they're things that I think when I do look back in some of the events that I played, I just got too high emotionally, just too anxious, wanting it too much. I look at when I won, or the couple of wins or the few wins that I had, the first one was completely different to the last one. I think from a technical perspective, I always look at it now and think I needed to be a little bit stronger technically Even though I could move my body really well and I had great club head speed and I could hit it a long way, I needed to be able to control that a little bit better, to control the ball better. So I think from that perspective, I think I was a little bit less flamboyant or less go for broke type. I probably needed to be that plodder. Whereas, you keep the ball in play, you give yourself a lot of opportunity as opposed to let's hit the par 5 and 2 and, let's hit a 3-wood over water and all that sort of stuff. It's fun when it happens, but the risk reward.
Yeah, I get you. I think that what you're saying now obviously comes with experience and wisdom. At the time, you do have to make these mistakes. I was just saying that to a client today. It's like she wishes that I could just help make the situation better. And it's like, even if I could do that, I wouldn't, because I would be depriving you of the lesson that it's going to teach you. So I'm only here to help be by your side whilst you go through it. But essentially going through it is what gives you the expertise now that you can share with your clients, and that composure. When I think of you on the golf course, I just think composure. You just look so centered.
I guarantee you, rewind the clock I was a anxious mess through, I would say, the back end of my career. I was just couldn't pull the trigger on it. I would really slow down and all that sort of stuff. I just was so up in my head and found it a real challenge. Like I really did. Whereas I can sort of kind of sit back here now in this comfortable seat and are there things that I would do different? More than likely, yeah. But they're the things that you need to learn. Now, was it a case of that were people telling me this? Of course they were. It's a case of you got to come to that realization yourself.
Yep.
Not to say that I wasn't. It was more of I just felt a little bit desperate out there. I desperately wanted to win a lot. And I'd sort of kind of had this, vision of the type of career that I wanted, and whether or not I'd wanted it too much and didn't allow it to naturally come, and you try and force things, and the more you try and force things, the less they happen, and the more anxious you become and the more frustrated you get. And it was just this pent up ball of frustration, that it wasn't for the fact of that I didn't know this. It was just how do I cope with this? How do I do this? But it, would I look back and change some things? Maybe. But I don't get to be the coach that I get to be now for my clients. They're not going through that. I think sometimes if things happen too easily for you, you're right, you don't get the learnings.
Yeah. Well, I think that drive is also the reason why you thrive, really. And so people always ask me, do you get nervous before you do events, talking engagements, whatever it is? And I was like, absolutely. Absolutely. Right up until the point where you put the microphone in my hand, absolutely do I get nervous. But then once you start talking and you start doing what we love, and then it gets easy. But I think if you don't have that nerve, anxiety, excitement, they're all intertwined. If you don't have that behind you, it kind of shows a lack of passion for what you're doing, doesn't it? Because it's like you don't care or whatever, if it goes however. But if you really care, you're really like invested in it,
Mine went a little bit beyond that. It went to the darker side of performance. So you do need to be somewhat anxious. Yes, you do need to feel like you're alive. You do need to feel like this is going and these are shaking, and, there's the element of, probably scattiness, but to be able to then control it, I found it a real challenge to control it. Like mine went, they talk about your optimal performance zones and those things where you can't be too low, but you can't be too high.
Okay.
And I went beyond it. Like I could get myself into contention, but come on a Sunday, I had big doubts. So there was that level of trying to get the job done.
Yeah.
And I just found that really frustrating. I found that a real challenge because it wasn't to say that I didn't have the tools. I did. I'd went to sports psychologists. I'd, did all those things. It was I just could not control where I was. But and with that, I think there was the down in the back of my mind in terms of swing. Can this cope under pressure? And at times it just didn't. It just collapsed. And then, I'd hit one shot that I was always fearful of. Once you hit one, the fear sort of kind of starts to bubble. So then it was a case of then trying to control it, get it to the house. And there were a few times that I did it, and they're always the rewarding times. But it was probably my Achilles heel, to be quite honest, was to finish the event. And, you're not always going to turn, say if you're leading or if you're close to the lead, you're not necessarily always going to turn them into the W's that you want. But there was my desperation that I did. And I always felt as if I'd failed if I didn't convert. Finishing top 10 in a golf tournament, against some of the fields that I played against was a great result. But in my mind, it was, I didn't win. So I'd started to label a little bit, or started to put it in a basket that was not healthy. I needed to step back. I needed to go, what is good? You look at the greats like Tiger Woods and Annika Sorenstam and the really great players that played. They didn't win every week. They won at a great a good percentage of the time. But they're probably not two great people that I chose because they did convert a lot. But it's hard to win a golf tournament. It's really hard because you're trying to control and a lot of things. There's a lot of balls in the air.
Yeah. I'm just trying to, I think what I'm grasping for what you're saying is that it's almost like high achievers, people who are really competitive, and you don't get the W and you feel like a failure. And I can relate to that a lot. And so I'm thinking that pressure you're putting on yourself, and we see this with people all the time, we are our worst critic, right? So you're like, you're terrible, Tamie, so it's like that kind of, when you say you go to a dark place of self-doubt and things like that, is that the kind of, you're just getting dark on yourself? Like like you can't do this. Who are you to think you can do this type thing?
I think it's because there is that real competitive urge, that competitive nature. And I think sometimes when you come through and you've had a lot of success, there is that expectation that it's going to continue. But when you start to move and you start to get higher and higher in the standards and the levels that you play, it gets harder and harder.
Yeah.
Because, you're playing against people who are as hungry as you are, who put as much work in as you do. And, there was a case, times where you sort of kind of think, God, I'm putting all this work in, but it's just not converting for me.
Yep.
So then the frustration gets more and more. So it's a case of, like, I can sit back and look at it now and go, you know what? Did I make some, not poor decisions, but could have I played it a little bit different? Yeah, I probably would have. But that comes in hindsight, and, when you're in it, you so desperately want to be successful. And, was there an element of, look, for me to be the person that I thought I wanted to be, I need to win. There's that for me to be accepted or for me to be enough and all those sorts of things that people talk about. It is that driver of, see, I can do it, or see, I am a winner, as opposed to, when I sit back and look at it now, I was a winner. There's a lot of people that don't get the opportunities that I had.
Yes.
So I'm very grateful for the situations that I put myself in. Now, did I get the result? Not the ones that I wanted. But, geez, what an experience. So I can sit back and look at that now. I can tell you, I was not thinking about that going through it at all.
Well, I mean, the saying is pressure makes diamonds, right? So you have to be in that environment where the pressure is hot to be able to squeeze the best out of yourself. And to get the best out of yourself, you got to go through the shit times.
Yeah.
You really got to go through the pressure cooker to feel like how you did. to actually get the result. And, at the end of the day, like I could, reel off all of your awards, titles and everything that you've achieved. Was there a switching point or a point for you where you just started to accumulate, I guess, wins and go, actually, I'm doing all right? Like
when I was younger, there was. It sort of, I don't mean for this to sound how it's probably going to sound, but I did find what I did, I don't want to use the term easy, but I did find it that things just sort of kind of come to you. But I think that's an element of mindset, and there's a combo of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm one of those people that looks into all of the, how do I make things come to me?
A manifesto.
Yeah, all that sort of stuff. I mean, I'd be lying if I said that I didn't look into it.
Yes.
But God, it does make sense because a lot of it is mindset. It's how you talk to yourself. It's the self-talk. It's, acting as if and all of those things, which I find really fascinating, and still trying to do it now.
Well, I think that's a really interesting point because manifestation, I mean, I've seen it firsthand with my clients. It happens. It works. But in an athletic perspective, we call it visualization.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like you're already the day before thinking about each hole.
Yeah.
And how you're going to hit it. So I think when you say easy, I think it's actually because you've already...
You see it.
You've prepared for it. You've visualized the outcome so that when it actually happens, you're like, oh, that wasn't that hard.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is. And I always felt that there was, I would get a feeling or a feel of, I'm going to play good today.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was. It was just this level of calm that would come over me. I'd hit the first one and I was away. It'd just come, out the middle, and, I could feel just things move through your body. It's almost like your body just moves in beautiful sync, and the ball's coming off the middle of the club face, and you just, those are the days that, that's the flow state that you get into, and everything's sort of, you visualized it. But oh my God, the hard days, when you sort of kind of feel like, your leg's about to fall off and your arms are moving in a different direction, you're still going to try and hit a golf ball.
Yeah.
It just feels hard. But yeah, the visualization of doing that stuff is critical. It's really, really important.
Well, the saying is, get in your head, you're dead, right? So definitely I can
spend a lot of time up there.
We all do.
Yep.
We all do. But, you're always going to have your good days and your bad days in anything that you do. So having said, you've gone through an 18-year successful career in the women's pro circuit. Was there a point where you what made you then retire, I guess?
It was a case of, for me, I didn't want to, once you don't want to keep working to the pace and the level that that you need to, there's an element of strife, you're in strife. The travel, living in and out of hotel rooms, you constantly away from your family, all of those things. But it was more of a case of I just couldn't or wasn't devoting the time that I needed to, and I knew that. So I knew that I was on the back end of, my career in terms of playing. And then with that comes a whole lot of different decisions that you need to start to make. And so when I'd finished, so a good friend of mine, Rachel Hetherington, she won't mind me saying her name, but she was very much a mentor for me when I was playing. She's 5 years older than me, and I'd always looked to Rach, and I still do. I mean, we still have a great relationship. And I'd look to her, for advice. And we were just chatting, and she'd retired, and I'd sort of kind of known that I wasn't getting the results that I was wanting, and I was moving in that type of direction. And I hadn't spoken to her in a while, and we sort of kind of connected. And I said, "What are you up to?" She goes, "Oh, I'm at uni." I'm like, "Uni?" She goes, "Yeah, I'm at law school." I'm like, "What?" She goes, "Yeah, I've been, she had to do this 6-month course, and then she got into uni, and then she's doing a law degree." And I said, "Really?" She goes, "Yeah." She goes, "I was talking to this woman who was a really great businesswoman, and she'd sort of said to me, she goes, Rachel, what are you going to do for the rest of your life? You've still got 20, 25 years of work life left. What are you going to do? And she goes, it sort of kind of pushed me back on my heels a little bit and made me think, I was like, well, what do I want to do with the rest of my life? I don't play golf anymore. And so we were having that conversation and she said, Tam, age is just a number. So if you're sort of kind of thinking about, I was pushing 40. And I'm thinking, oh my God, uni. And I had to wrap it around, sort of kind of get it to sit in my head and go, can I realistically do 3 to 4 years? Can I commit to it? And I was in the same boat as she was. And I didn't know whether or not I wanted to stay in golf. I thought I needed something different because I felt burnt out by it. So I found out a way. So I went and did my PGA accreditation. It was the way, because I'd looked into, say, these tests and stuff that you got to get into uni. And I'm not doing that. I'm just not going to kind of sit and do that. It's not going to happen. So I thought, okay, well, I'll do the PGA accreditation. So I did that. It was a bridging course. So I did that. That took me a couple of years, which then got me into, because it was I was like a diploma of sport coaching.
Yep.
And I did that and I got into uni. So I'm thinking, I remember when I was walking into uni the first day, I'm literally in the car going, what am I doing? Is this the right decision? And I thought, if I'm going to do this, then I'm going to commit.
Yep.
And I remember having the conversation with her and she goes, Tam, it's really interesting that we've both gone back down the mountain, because we'd sort of kind of, playing elite professional sport, it takes time to go start here and work there.
Yeah.
She goes, it takes a bit of courage to go back down the mountain and then start all over again and then start the climb back up.
Yep.
So I looked at it from that perspective. It's like, you know what? Yeah. I know how to do this because I've done it just in a different way.
Yep.
So 4 years later, I actually beat her. Not to say it was a competition. It wasn't, but there's always competition. And so a law degree is always a bit longer than a psych degree anyway.
Of course.
And so I went to the graduation. I had no real plan on it. My sister's like, I never went. And anyway, so I was talking to some friends of mine. They're going, you got to do it. You got to go and get it. You got to go and put the weird looking hat on and the robe and all that sort of stuff. And I was actually quite emotional about it. It was probably when I was sitting there, I'm thinking, I can't believe I've actually done this. And I actually felt like this is actually a bit more of an achievement than, not to say that being a professional athlete's not an achievement, because it is.
Yeah.
But that one really had me emotional. I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, okay, just don't lose your shit. Just keep it together. And Mum she was there, and I think it was more of a case of, because I'd always said to my parents, there's no way you'll get me into an institution, and here I am.
Mm-hmm.
I got up there, I got the thing, and I put the whole cape and garb on.
Yeah.
And so I would put that very, very close, if not just a little bit above my golf career, if you can possibly even fathom and believe that.
Well,
because of just the time, the dedication and the discipline that it actually takes to sit down at 40 and be a mature age student. And there's heaps of us out there.
Yes. And
I always applaud, the mature age students, not to say, the young kids, but they've got a lot of living and learning to do. But I always think it's a great achievement. And then 6 months later, so I sent my photo to Rachel. Here I am with my, and so she sent me hers. So it was a great achievement for both of us. Like, I think we got real great pride in both doing it and committing to it and not going, this is getting too hard, I'm not going to finish.
Mm-hmm.
And look, I'm not going to say that I didn't have help along the way, because I did. For those people, I'm very, very grateful. But you always need help.
Yeah.
You can never, ever do things by yourself. You always need the help. You always need the mentors and, the ones that sort of sometimes just hang in there, just keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew in the last 6 months of the last semester of it, you can sort of kind of see, you can see the lights, you can sort of kind of see it.
Yeah.
So I found the last semester probably the bigger challenge to get through it, because you can see it. You can almost taste it. You can almost feel it.
Yep.
It's like you just got to knuckle down. You just got, however many assessments it was that you had to write and the exams, and just stay the course. It's 6 months or, a semester, whatever it is, and you stay the course. You just get it done.
Amazing.
Mhm.
You're going to have to send me a picture of that, of you in there.
I remember, and I really wasn't that fussed in it.
Yeah.
But I'm glad to the friend Anne that said, "Tamie, do it.
Yeah.
Do it. You gotta go and experience it because it's an achievement, and you get immersed in it." But yeah, ridiculous looking photos with the thing and the cape and but yeah,
it's a podium of a different sort, which has then now led you.
It is
to your next career progression, obviously.
Yep, which I'm really enjoying actually.
Yep.
I remember when I'd finished playing, I'm like, golf, I've had enough. Getting out of it, I'm going to go and do something else. And that something else never really knocked on my door in terms of probably what I thought it would. But probably in the back of my mind, I always knew that there was probably going to be golf that was always going to lure me back. And it did. And I'm having a blast. I'm having an absolute blast at the moment coaching. And as I said, I didn't think I would. But there's nothing better, I don't think, than seeing people hit, if it's one golf shot, to their potential and their reaction to it. It's that real heartwarming, oh my God, I've had a little bit of influence or I've had a little bit of help in them hitting a shot that they never thought they could.
Yeah. I love that. I think that is the pleasure of being able to marry two things that you've now grown to love, which is like the psychology and mindset behind high achievement and why we do things and how to squeeze the potential out of the people we work with, but also golf, to which you well and truly can say it's been a lifelong love of yours.
It is a passion. It is one of those games where once it bites you, it's got you for all money. It really does. But it's a case of building relationships as well. It's about, making the connection. It's building the rapport with people. It's just fun, right? There's probably not a better word that I can describe right now in terms of how I feel about it and just the opportunities. I am open to all opportunities, and I think you have to be. And they sort of kind of swirl around you and they come and all that sort of stuff. It's like that manifestation stuff that I was talking about before. But if you're not open to opportunities, they don't come.
Yeah.
But I'm very much open to them. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's evident. You've spread your wings across 3 different venues in Adelaide. So for those listening, you're coaching out of 3 places, which are?
I do coach out of 3 places. So initially I had a really great opportunity with Sandy Creek out at Gawler. And 2 really good friends of mine, Sue Keylock and Graham Keylock, reached out to me and said, "Hey, are you coaching?" And I said, "Yeah, I am." And they're like, "Well, we want to coach out here. Can you come out?" And I said, "Yeah, I'd love to." And I don't think I've had as much fun out there in terms of the community. It's a country community, right? So I'm a country girl from Karoonda, and it just has those really great parallels.
Yeah.
And the people out there are just absolutely beautiful. They're wonderful people. And they said, "Look, come out, see if you can make, a bit of business out of it and whatever." So I'm out there a couple of days a week. I'm out there Wednesdays and Sundays. And look, to their credit, they're actually building a amazing coaching hut out there. And I can't wait to get in there and start using it. But I just feel really blessed and really grateful that, they took a punt on me and it seems to be working out. It's just really, really great. And then I'm at the PAT. So I'm at the PAT, just so everyone knows I work probably too much, but I really love it.
Yes, she does.
So I'm 2 days at Sandy Creek, Wednesdays and Sundays. And then I'm 5 days at the PAT. So Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And we've got some really good junior programs going down there. Got some really great beginner, introduction, intermediate classes and stuff going down there for adults and beginners. And I'm just really, really excited the fact that there's a lot of women coming to the game. So I'm down there, and they're a great group of people down there as well. I like the fact that there's an executive course, which is a 15-hole golf course. It's a bit shorter. but it's really great for the newer golfer. And then they've got their championship course. They've got really great putting green and driving range, and we've got the academy down there, which is awesome as well, and having a blast down there, which is great. And then I'm at a wonderful new location called Golf Park Adelaide, which is in the AFL Max building, which is on the corner of Tapless Hill Road and Sir Donald Bradman, I do believe, at the airport. And it is amazing. What they're doing in there is just absolutely sensational. There's Garmin simulators, there's Foresight simulators, and they've got this great thing in there called Putt View, which is 25,000 laser beams that helps move the green, and you can hit 25,000 different putts, which who would have thought? And it's state of the art. It's big. It's beautiful. And I know the guys that are in there, we just can't wait to get in there and get stuck into it. And, you know, it's just going to be fantastic. It's really for everyone. It's, you know, for kids, parents, you know, spouses, husbands, wives, all that sort of stuff. It's great.
Well, that only just had its grand opening on this weekend past, no?
No, it's not open yet.
Okay.
We're hoping early March.
Oh, okay, fantastic. I thought I missed the grand opening. That's all.
No, you haven't.
Excellent.
So, it's state of the art. Putt View, I believe there's only 3 of it in the world.
Is it the largest in Australia, or is it up there?
It will be
definitely up there.
I would say it's very, very close to being the largest in Australia. I mean, the AFL Max building is huge.
Yeah.
Great. It's just a great facility. AFL Max in itself is impressive. So can't wait.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm definitely going to come check it out.
Yeah, so we're going to run some ladies' clinics out of there. We're going to do a lot of junior stuff. So book in. I might as well do a bit of a plug while I'm here. So I'm going to be there Monday nights from 6 till 10, Tuesday night 6 till 10, and then Wednesday morning 7 till 12. So if you can find 10 days of the week for me, that would be unbelievable. But yeah.
Well, I think that just, again, goes to show how passionate you are about it. See, I've gotten this far without saying that I don't know much about golf, and until I met you, and her passion is just bloody contagious, you know, because you make me want to learn how to play golf, and I've never had that desire before. And having said that, you would be the only one I would want to teach me. So maybe that might have to be like a YouTube video where we can laugh at me being an absolute beginner at something, because, you know, you'll feel like you'll get some comeback at me.
Yes. I think golf is one of those, it's a mirror to life. Like, it challenges you in every facet, from the physical to the mental, definitely to the emotional. It just covers off everything. And I think, you know, it just teaches you how to be you. I think it's a great way to find out who you really are. Go and play golf. Definitely go and play golf.
I love that. There is certainly an art to it, and I've enjoyed trying to incorporate resistance and strength training into molding that movement, the movements of which need to be partaken in. So I think that's been quite incredible to see. Hence why I said I have had no desire until meeting you to learn. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Now, Tamie, a question I ask everybody who's been on the show.
Ooh.
And that is, what does summoning your superhuman mean to you?
Summoning my superhuman. I think it's being uniquely you. I think you've got to be you. I think if you're trying to be someone else, you're going to fail really, really badly. So I think if you can look at yourself in the mirror and really love who you see, I think you summon your superhuman in that way. I think loving who you are, all the good, the bad, and the ugly, I think you really find out who you are. And I think that's uniquely, authentically who you are. It's just do you. Because if you can't do you, you're in a bit of trouble.
Beautiful. I like that.
Just do you.
to you.
Because if you don't, I know at times probably through my career I tried to be and do and say and feel and try and feel like you're fitting in with others and trying to be who people think you need to be. Just do you. It's a lot easier and a lot less stress.
Yeah. I think that's a good place to land. But the journey there is a place of a little bit of emulation and replication of what previous successors and mentors have achieved until you find your own flavor, and then you can truly stand in your own. This is me.
Yep.
And this is I'm an accumulation of many things, and you can be truly proud of who you are, and that's your superhuman to which you are today, and you're still evolving.
Well, I am.
May even be competing on another pro circuit in the future.
Well, it's in the back of my mind. I can say it's firmly back there, and I'm working on it, sort of coming a little bit more front of mind. It's certainly something that I'm going to explore. I think there's still a little bit of I've got to get the competitive juices out and done and dusted. So by the time I hit 60, then I'm probably too close to 60. But I'm looking at probably doing the qualifier for the US senior. I can't believe I have to say the term senior. It's really
nothing.
It's really a bugbear. It's really, but
it's just GPS
it is the
coordinates.
It's just where I am, right? Yep. The US Senior Women's Open next year is certainly something that's on my radar. And I know that the journey begins, or the competitiveness of it, in terms of, okay, what are the things that I need to do? What are the things that I need to sort out? Now, that's my body. I need to get my body back in, reasonably good shape, and then, a bit of mindset stuff, and make sure that, okay, when I make this decision, I'm fully committed. And then it's the physical side of, golf. It's getting sharp. It's working on the golf swing. It's, all of those weird and wonderful things that when you actually get stuck into it, it is an absolute barrel of fun.
Yeah.
So it's slowly moving front of mind. Yes.
Hell yes, is what I have to say.
So that's not till August next year, I think, somewhere in there, June, July, or back end of the American summer. I think it is August. So it gives me time.
I look forward to seeing you sharpen that sword and seeing the now version of you that will take all your expertise, wisdom, knowledge now. It's going to be elite.
So it's exciting. I certainly know what I'm in store for, and it's whether or not it's the commitment, because it's a big commitment. Getting your golf game to a level where you're happy with it but feeling like it's competitive is going to take some time. So that's why I've really got to make the choice, I think, reasonably soonish. It'll take me a good year and probably 3 or 4 months to really get it sharp.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you've mentioned that the competitive scene in US is a lot greater than here. Is that still the case? Or am I not correct?
They're just bigger. Like, it's just,
okay.
In America, everything's bigger.
Of course.
Now, not to say that, we have some amazing golfers, that are really coming through. Hannah Green, Minjee Lee, those types of players, fantastic. I'm just old.
Oh,
so I'm in the older echelon. But I think it's fun. It's, you go back and see some of the people that you played with when I was, playing, and, it's always great to watch the younger players go at it, because they're just really, really good. So, I'm sure the bug will bite.
I think
fully soon.
The age is your advantage. Just like when you go to uni, and I felt that way when I went to uni, I felt like that was an advantage, because obviously working in the space or having your experience, it helps you view everything you're learning through a different lens.
Yeah.
And so it's an advantage, as is what will occur next year and beyond. So obviously, I'm going to be rooting for you every step of the way.
Mm-hmm.
And for everyone else listening, If you want to learn how to sharpen your sword, go see this woman. She's amazing. TamieDurdinCoaching.com.au. Book in, go see her. Go see the new golf park, Adelaide, whenever that will. I'll share it when it truly opens.
We're not far away. It's not far away. I know it's really, really close.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So until next time, Superhuman, strengthen your mind, body, and soul muscles, and stay amazing.
Thank you, Ria.
Thank you, Tamie.